Hey everyone, it's me, Arthur Kade, and I'm welcoming the cast of WeTV's Money, Power, Respect. Make sure to check them out. Three extraordinary ladies. Get ready for a great time behind the velvet rope. Hey everyone, it's me, Arthur Kade. Just complimenting the three of you ladies. Your industry and your careers are hard. I guess that's why they gave you a reality show. Congratulations.
Thank you.
My three favorite words: money, power, respect. I have none of them, so how do you get them? Tell me.
Well, we're still working on it too. That's why we have a reality show.
It's true.
I mean, you know, the money and the the power and the respect thing, I got that part. Now I'm like, okay, can I make some money?
Chasing the dollar.
Like, hello.
Chasing the dollar.
Yes.
So what are people going to get when they see Money, Power, Respect? Tell me about the background of all three of you. What are we going to see with your lives, your careers, and the people you have to deal with?
So, you know, I think you're going to see a different side of the entertainment business when you're looking at Money, Power, Respect, because you're seeing the toolbox, basically, for the deals. You're seeing the people who are putting together these contracts. You're seeing the people who are going out and shopping these agreements and shopping these deals. You're seeing all of that stuff, and that's something you usually don't see. So you see the other side. You see the stars, but how they actually get to be stars, we're going to tell that now.
All right, so you and I, we were all just talking. I was like, you and I, like we're having a one-on-one interview over here, all the way over there.
All right.
It's a hard industry. Musicians are some of the hardest people to deal with. People don't realize it. Like from an I won't ask you name names or anything, so don't worry. Everybody get relaxed. But people don't realize, like just even from an interviewer perspective, no one ever shows up on time. Sometimes they're incoherent. It's insane stuff.
Yes.
How hard is it to do what you guys do? Walk me through the struggles of it.
So I would say, you know, when you're dealing with creatives, you're already dealing with somebody
love
who is
the
definitely
attorney term,
yes,
creatives.
They're creatives, and they're, you know, they think differently. Their hours are different. So you kind of have to have the mindset that I know who my client is. I know what to expect from them. So you don't make early morning meetings. You expect that, you know what, they're going to be, if they're out doing a show to a certain hour, whatever you need to do, you figure it out.
Little Wayne, we're going to need you at 5:30 this morning.
Right. So if you want them to be there at 2, you tell them to be there at 11.
That is really how it works.
That's right. But this is the thing. If it's Little Wayne, I don't mind waiting. So because of that, because of how frustrating it can be and how difficult it can be, I'm very selective about who I represent, because I don't, you know, you have to be really talented to be wasting that much of my time. And when you are that talented, it comes with the territory.
It's the headache.
Exactly.
When you're dealing with this, how, you know, in structuring these deals and getting, you know, even the pitches, people don't realize how hard it is. Like, walk me through some of the process. So you meet artist X, right? And he wants a TV show, wants a record deal, whatever it is.
Right.
What do you have to go through to make this stuff happen?
Okay, so I'll speak to that. So I used to do A&R. And so I worked at MCA, where people would come to me to sign to the record label. And then I left and went to law school, and now I represent the artists and go and try and get them signed to the record label. And the beauty of that is I can pick and choose who I do business with. So if you're an asshole, I don't have to, you're not my first stop. Let's just put it that way. So the process is, for me, coming from an A&R background, it starts with the talent. If you're not talented, I'm not going to waste my time. I have to literally be that passionate about you, because it is a long, drawn-out process. And it's hard, it's grueling, it's not fun, and a lot of the people at record companies are not kind. So you really have to see something in somebody that makes you want to go out and do that. And then you have to have the relationships to be able to make it happen.
How important are those relationships? So is it a referral business? Is it a, you know, SEO? I have an internet website. How does it all work for you guys?
Exactly. You know, the relationships are incredibly important, because you're not going to be able to get your artist or your client into certain doors unless you have those relationships already from prior dealings. So it's also telling of how you relate to other people, because we're putting our name and our reputation on the line. So you're not going to risk your relationships for somebody that's not worth it. So the background is making sure that whoever, you know, as Wendy spoke, that they're worth it, that they're worthy of you putting yourself and your name out there, because the client is a representation of you, always.
Yeah. And then on the intellectual property side, there's a secondary layer. Wendy has to like the person, I have to like their idea or concept and say that's worth me going into my creative brain, becoming a scientist, engineer, and a lawyer to plan out this concept and make it something that they actually exist.
Sell.
Right? You can sell.
How do you know though? Like, how do you know this is going to work when you're dealing with this?
Right. Well, nobody knows. I mean, a lot of people obviously have a better track record, and so they pretty much know. I mean, in terms of their batting average. But nobody absolutely knows. It's just like any other industry. You know, there are no absolutes. For me, it's just my gut. It's what I feel passionate about, and that I don't mind waking up in the morning and thinking about, or hanging out in the studio late at night and hearing or whatever. I mean, I don't even do that anymore. I'm so over it. I've been doing it a long time, and I am over it. So literally, you have to be Beyonce, Mariah Carey, somebody incredible for me to even want to make a phone call these days. I'm over it. However, you know, every now and then there is that artist that you're just like, I thought I was out, and now they're pulling me back in, you know what I mean? Because they have that much talent, and then it just starts spinning all over again. And it's just your gut. It's just, it moves you, that's all.
Okay, so the Billy Bush thing, everyone's already seen it, right? Obviously. You know, there's such a perception of women in entertainment. How hard is it in your stratosphere to be a woman?
Yeah, it's not easy.
No, it's not. I actually had an issue about a month ago, strictly because I'm a woman. I'm doing more behind or in front of camera stuff instead of just behind. So I went to training camp for the Redskins in Virginia, and their PR director said something that was very inappropriate to me. He said, I look like a girl.
Wait a minute.
Oh, yeah. I look like a girl who
you
can make
like
anyone.
a player to say that, but the director of PR for a football club?
Yes. So he says, I look like a girl who can make a man do anything I want. Less than 2 hours later, right? So my shock, I was like, my face, and I'm like, you know, on one hand, as a woman in entertainment and sports, you know, certain guys, you're just gonna be boys. So they might say some crazy stuff to you, and you're like, oh yeah, we're just boys, we're homeboys. But then if that's the case, there's mentoring, there's your little sister. Instead, less than 2 hours later, he was taking my credentials for taking a picture with a player. Now, you know, that's advertising, that's publicity. I'm doing an interview, I put it on social media, I say, hey, go check this out. So instead of doing what was protocol, which is if you don't want pictures at your training camp, hey, no pictures, he decided to send me home to D.C. from Whitfield, Virginia. So that, you know, there's a certain element that's good in we're all gorgeous and, you know, amazing. So there's a certain pretty girl pass that can exist, but it can also smack you in your ass. And in this case, now I have to go and deal with this organization and the fact that, you know, this was discriminatory because of my sex and because of how I look. And so, you know, for me, that's disappointing as a fan. It's disappointing as a woman going into this business. But I also can't let it go because there's a young woman who's going to go in there that doesn't have my experience, doesn't have another resource, doesn't have another career, and she's going to be shut out of broadcasting in that area because she can't cover the Redskins.
You guys deal with the same?
All the time. I mean, I'm a litigator, so I'm in court, and it's definitely an old boys club. You know, you're not going to see many women, especially female trial attorneys. You're not going to see many African-American female trial attorneys.
I was going to ask you about that.
So I'm dealing with sometimes being questioned as I'm coming into the courthouse, even though I have full clearance and credentials to walk in and not have to stop. Are you lost? Do you need any help? Can I help you? They think I might be, you know, the court reporter, the stenographer. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things where, you know what, after a while, you say, it's not just because I'm walking in with this face, it's because I'm walking in just being a woman, and you're not expecting that the person representing, you know, these people who are suing major corporations to have, you know, this little brown girl who's representing you.
Let me flip it. Can you use it to your advantage?
Absolutely.
Well, you use it to get in the door.
Right. Then you better be smart enough to keep the door open. You know?
Exactly.
So it doesn't close in your
It
face.
gets you a seat at the table, but you want to be able to eat there.
We talked about the woman. You had brought up the race. Is that an issue in the industry?
Yes.
Absolutely.
I mean, you know, it used to be creatively, it was such an issue, especially, you know, in the early 90s, in the 90s period, in terms of trying to cross over in music. It was like record companies were so compartmentalized. They were literally black music divisions, and you only did black music, and then you only went to black radio, and you couldn't get on MTV because they only slotted for 3 black artists. You know, so we have grown, the music industry. One of the great, beautiful things about it is that we have moved beyond that.
Diversity is much better right now.
And now everybody of every culture, race, whatever, embraces all kinds of music. So there's no more slotting of music. And in those days, that was a big problem in terms of, you know, how many records you could sell, because you needed to be able to play on pop radio or get in front of more eyeballs in order to sell those amount of records. And some record companies did it better than others. But when you hear those old school people and they talk about, oh, we'll never get this on pop radio, it's like, what are you talking about now? You know, the most rock gut thing. It was either extra rock gut or pop. Everything in between just couldn't. You know, and that was the most frustrating period in the music industry for anybody creative, or the boxes. So.
Do you guys enjoy dealing more with the A-list stars or the discoveries at the bottom? But you flourish, you see them flourish in front of you and with you.
I think you feel prouder of the ones that are, you know, just starting out, and you're helping them blossom their career, and you're kind of starting it out together. You know what I mean? You're seeing something from the beginning, and then when it finally comes to fruition and they've got this album that's completed, you feel proud. The first time you see them on TV, first time you hear them on the radio, you feel proud of that.
Yes.
So it's one thing to have an established artist, because absolutely it lends credibility to you and to your acumen, but the gratefulness you'll find in the newer artists that are just starting out is, I think, what kind of gives you the ammunition to want to really do this.
Is there ever a worry that, hey, I built you, helped build you, but then you leave me? Is that
It's part.
It's no honor
part of the business?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
It's not if it's going to happen. It's when it's going to happen,
right.
and it happens to everybody.
That would drive me berserk. I would start tackling people.
You
I think, are you serious?
You develop thick skin. You know, I mean, going back to your other point, how many times have you've been called by anybody, honey, doll, baby, sweetie, in a meeting? They're already, it's condescending. There's so many things that you get over it and you realize everything's not worth the battle. So you left, okay, good riddance, good luck to you. Someone's coming right behind you that will surpass you. So you don't.
And it's not always ugly though. I mean, I've had pretty much amazing relationships with all of my clients. And there is a transition period where you both kind of sense it's time to move on. And when that happens, it's like, I've had a client, I won't mention his name, but, he got married and his wife was really insecure. I've never had a romantic relationship with any of my clients. My love life is just fine, thank you. So, but, we were so close. And he got married and she didn't like that. She was insecure and he had to leave. It was causing too many problems in his house. No problem. I get it. I love you. God bless you. He was more upset about leaving than I was. But it was time, and we had worked together for years. I was so proud of what we had done together, and we're still the best of friends, and I still wish him all the best. So everything is not always ugly. Sometimes there are life changes. Sometimes it's just transition. Sometimes it's moving to California and wanting to be closer to your lawyer, so you get a California lawyer. Whatever it is, it's not always ugly, and it's just like change.
What's up with all these hip-hop stars that are like broke at the end? Like, why is an athlete and everybody else, what do you think it is right now?
I'll tell you what it is. Most African Americans do not grow up sitting around the dinner table with their parents talking about balancing checkbooks, saving, finance, and investing. We do not have that advantage. And then a lot of athletes, a lot of young rappers, they're young, and all of a sudden they have all this money, and all they see is what they see in the media. Nobody has ever taught them anything about budgeting, saving, anything. So they're not all of a sudden going to know this. And then everybody thinks the checks are going to keep coming. So nobody thinks they're going to, or the IRS is going to come. Right. So these aren't things we're taught at a young age that so many other cultures are.
It's even worse on the athlete side.
That's what I was going to say. And on that side, there's also the idea of keeping up with the Joneses. So within a team, you might have someone who's making $5 million for a season and someone who's making $300,000 or less for that season by the time you take out fines or whatever else the NFL does. So in that, you have to account for that, and there's also not that collectivism when we talk about the African-American kind of culture and family. Like, you're Jewish, so you understand. Like, I've been to Queens, I've been to the dress shop swap meets and that kind of stuff where you're actually collectively buying something as a group, or the women are, and it's saving money across the board. So players don't go in and say, hey, we're all going to get Rolexes together. Let's figure out how we can make this cheaper, and everybody not pay this crazy amount. But I used to do that for players because I worked with some pawn shops in Miami. I used to work with a car broker in Miami. So I would do that. And like, if you're coming in, you want this package, you want to do this blink for whatever reason, if you must do it, at least do it with the knowledge and the education of something that's 70, 80% off versus, you know, the full price of this item. But that's not what we're taught. We're, you know, you're supposed to
But
go in
one
and buy
of the solutions, though, particularly in the sports, is for the leagues to have mandatory, you know, financial literacy courses.
They care. I think the
They
truth of the-
don't.
The truth
They
of the matter is
don't.
they don't care. It's,
At all.
Bring them in, spit them out.
But they
It's a
need to start
product.
caring, and they could start caring if they wanted to. You know what I mean? And it takes one to set an example and to get a lot of amazing positive publicity around that. And then when something looks good, oh, we got to do this too. Look, whether it's PR or whatever the reason is, start with one, but get it started. People do have to care. And nobody cares is no longer the answer, and it's not acceptable. Somebody has to care, and somebody has to make it start.
And it just takes one.
And
Yeah.
for those athletes, they should be getting some compensation on the college
And they
level.
have a lot of power.
That's a whole different
Yeah.
They
conversation.
have a lot of
Yeah,
power.
100%.
If the
We're
LeBrons
getting
and
screwed.
everybody else decided we're going to make this happen in the NBA, you know, and we're going to make sure that the NBA enforces a financial literacy course for all of, you know, incoming
have
players.
it. It's
They
just
have
not
the
that
power.
great.
They don't
They
have to
have
wait
pensions
for,
and
you know.
Yeah.
I think the dilemma is, and I'm from Philadelphia originally, and you see Iverson, great example. Guy blew through $300 million.
Love Ireland. I was
Al-
one of my
blew
favorite
through-
players.
Blew through 300 mil. You're like, you think, all right, I made 300, I cleared 180 probably, 200. How do you blow through 200 mil? But it's, I remember when I lived in Philadelphia, I would see him in restaurants, and he would do $20,000 bar tabs.
Yeah. With a
And-
posse of
He's
20.
treated
And,
Yeah.
one of his friends. I went to school in Virginia, which is where he's from. He's from Hampton, Virginia.
Yep.
So I knew him even before he even made it into the league, when he was just young and being
Chuck.
exactly Bubba Chuck. And you know what? You see that there are already people who are going to latch on because they know that he's going to be the meal ticket for a very, very long time. My dad played in the NFL. At this point now, between the concussion cases, which I represent many players for, it's the entity is not going to help you. We have to have the financial literacy amongst the players starting early. They have to be educated about these things, and so many of our artists, of our younger players, they're not going to college. It's not for everybody, but definitely if your parents have never been and you're not going either, who are you going to ask? You're maybe leading yourself to unscrupulous people who are not going to care about you the same way the people who are
Just
close
don't
to you
know.
are.
Like,
They don't know
just
any
to give you
better.
bad deals.
You guys are awesome. Congrats on the show. That's all I'm gonna. I could sit here and talk to you all day. I'm like, crap. I wish we didn't have a schedule because I want to actually. I wish I could talk to you about the concussion. Actually, I do want to ask you. You think they're doing enough right now?
They haven't done enough, but the settlement that's coming, it will make some people whole. You know, they're never going to be able to be back to where they were, but it's a start because, and what I love about it now, it's not only for players that played in the professional level, it's also for the at the collegiate level as well. So a lot of our young men never even made it into the NFL because they were injured playing, and it was still, like I say, the old boys club. You're not hurt, go back out there and play again. They're
mind-boggling.
playing with concussions at 18, 19, and 20 years old, and by the time they're 25,
They can't even spell their names anymore.
they can't spell their names
remember if they went to the
anymore.
bathroom at the minute
you
ago.
know, they've got CTE, and it's really a sad situation.
You guys are awesome. Congrats on the show. Everybody
Thank
make
you.
sure to go to WeTV, check out Money, Power, Respect, 3 extraordinary women, and I love what you guys represent on all levels. I think it's freaking awesome, and I hope the show's a big hit for the network. So
Thank you.
Thank you
You're
so
awesome.
much.